It's a beautiful day to go racing here in the Pocono Mountains. Blue skies, puffy white clouds, and temperatures in the 70s. And a 2.5-mile tricky triangle to challenge the stars of ARCA.
Pocono Raceway. She's called the Tricky Triangle. She's a super speedway, but she drives like a road course. And she's very, very picky about who she welcomes into her victory lane. She prefers champions, but she's been known to give an up-and-comer a shot at glory. A year ago, she narrowed the field down to 2 17-year-olds, and when she hailed the checkered flag, a young gun made history. Today, she'll decide if a driver will make a name for himself or make history with his name.
Welcome to Fox Sports 1's live coverage of the Pocono ARCA 200 presented by Menards from Pocono Raceway in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Ralph Shaheen on an absolutely glorious day to go racing. One of the prettiest days we've seen here in the June months at Pocono. Temperatures in the low 70s, light humidity, plenty of great sunshine for our race this afternoon. As we get ready to go racing here in Pocono, let's get caught up with the folks that'll be covering the action for us down on pit lane, kicking our coverage off with Wendy Venturini.
Thanks, Ralph. Kyle Larson will be in the ARCA race today here at Pocono because he needed some more experience. I spoke to him right before he got into this race car, where he will start from the pole. You will hear from him momentarily. He has his nationwide crew, including crew chief Scott Zipadelli, on the pit box today. Jim?
Wendy, Frank Kimmel is a three-time winner here at Pocono Raceway. He's qualified his best ever 6th here at Pocono. He also has an open pit stall ahead of him because he got the pick so well in the qualifying order when they picked the pits afterward. He's looking for win number 4 in a car he finally got to test here after all the years coming. He tested Wednesday at Pocono and picked up a lot of speed. Frank is in the hunt for win number 4, guys.
That he is, Jim, and we'll fire the engines up here in the Poconos as we get ready to go live racing with ARCA when Fox Sports 1 returns right after these words. Welcome back to Pocono, getting closer to the start of the Pocono ARCA 200. You know, they say that this used to be the honeymoon capital of the world. I don't know about that anymore, but I can tell you one thing. It's no honeymoon trying to figure out how to get your car to victory lane here around the Tricky Triangle. And they've done a few things to make it even more challenging for the drivers this year. We'll talk about that coming up in a little bit. But first, let's head down trackside, flip the switches, and fire these engines.
Race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Here to give the command, please welcome our Grand Marshals, the Fleetwood Group.
Drivers, start your engines!
I love to hear that sound. Hi, everybody. Welcome into the booth. Ralph Shaheen alongside Phil Parsons, who's been racking up some air miles this morning, flying in from Texas in the truck race last night. I mentioned there's been some changes to the track here. They took some curbing away. As a driver, the turn 2 tunnel turn, you know all about that curb.
Yeah, it's one of the most difficult, challenging corners in all of racing, really. And they took that curb out, and that's just allowed it to be a little bit more forgiving for these drivers. You run those left sides across the curb. A lot of times we saw flat tires there, and there it is right there. They actually have a lane now down there. They said it's not a lane that you can go down there like Phoenix, where you run all 4 tires down below the yellow line, but it is a little bit more forgiving than that curbing, because that curbing would really upset the car as well as cut down those left front tires.
Well, just like here in the booth where I'm so much younger than Phil, there's a difference in age in the drivers down there in the grid. From Frank Kimmel, no offense to Frank, to some of the other guys like Kyle Larson, there is a bit of an age gap.
There really is, and last year they allowed the 17-year-olds to start running in this series, and we saw in the T's what happened with that. We had 17s running, finishing 1st and 2nd in this race last year, so it's a great disparity, great opportunity for these young drivers to showcase their talents with the Cup guys and Cup owners in the garage area watching. And we've seen a lot of people use this race over the years, like a Ryan Newman to win this race, and Casey Mears, people like that, just like Kyle Larson is doing here, get some experience for tomorrow.
Yeah, we have one of those guys in the field here today, and he's going to start right up on the front row. Kyle Larson right there, his first ARCA race this season. He's going to have John West Townley alongside him.
Talk about a disparity, though. John West Townley ran that truck race last night in Texas, finished in the top 5. Brendan Poole, a great race car driver, qualified the car on the front row, but he's going to have to go all the way to the back with no practice and run this race today. So it's going to be a big disparity between the 2 fastest guys in qualifying.
Let's head back down to pit lane. Here's Wendy once again.
Thanks, Ralph. They call it the tricky triangle. And what does a Sprint Cup Series rookie do to prepare for a track here at Pocono? Well, you enter the ARCA race. He's in a Turner Motorsports race car, and he's being crewed by his nationwide team with crew chief Scott Zipadelli. I spoke to Kyle Larson right before he climbed in the car.
I just want to get more laps. I've never raced here at Pocono. It's totally different than any other track we go to. And, we don't shift in these cars, but you can still learn the corners a little bit more and just gain experience. So our cartwheel Chevy was fast all day in practice, so looking forward to a good race today. Just got to stay out of trouble and have a good clean pit stop and good restarts.
Now we know Kyle Larson will be awfully strong here at Pocono. The one concern is the camber that many of the teams are running. How aggressive is your setup, and can the tires hold up? We know they've been awfully strong here this week, and we're going to see how it plays out once the green flag drops. Ralph?
Wendy, the last race we had with this series would have been round number 6, was on a road course in New Jersey Motorsports Park. Andrew Ranger, Phil, this guy has had this place wired the last couple of years, and he did it the last round, winning there.
He has to be at least a par owner in this racetrack, but what a great road racer. We've seen him in the K&N series of NASCAR, as well as the Nationwide series running well, and certainly the ARCA series.
Should have come here, because even though this is technically an oval race, it certainly races like a road course.
Boy, he could get it done here for sure.
Yeah, here's a look at the points coming into today's race. Mason Mitchell is 55 markers behind Grant Enfinger, and Frank Kimmel, always in the hunt, sits there in third. And this could be a great opportunity for a guy like Frank. Gain some ground on these guys.
Without a doubt here, Frank Kimmel is so good here, and as Jim mentioned earlier, he was able to test here. He's never done that before in all the years he's been coming here, and he found some speed.
There's a field warming up behind the pace car as we get ready to go. All right, Phil, what are your keys for today's race?
Well, there's a couple things you really want to pay attention to. Timing in the tunnel. I was talking to some of the young drivers especially, and I said, if I overshoot the tunnel driving too hard, then I really pay for it on exit. So you really have to time the entrance to the tunnel so you can get that car turned and get a straight run off the corner. And as Wendy talked about, don't abuse the right front tire. It's a nice tuning tool to put a lot of camber in that right front, but we saw some wear issues on that right front on the inside. So you have to be a little bit conservative on the camber, or the driver a little bit conservative in track position. You want to be positioned towards the end of the race to be close to the front in case we get a late restart.
Back to pit road one more time, and Jim Trado.
And the driver we're going to talk about is just 18 years of age. He turned 18 just before racing at Talladega, his first super speedway start. It's Austin Wayne Self in the number 22 AM Technical Solutions Dodge. This young man's a quick learner. He finished third at Talladega, and guess what? He came here Wednesday and was the second fastest out of anyone here. Prior to that, he only played a video game here to get used to Pocono. This kid has speed. He's 5th on the grid, but more importantly, he's a very quick learner. His debut here came last year, a half a dozen races. He finished 2nd to Frank Kimmel at the storied Winchester Speedway. This Austin, Texas kid has it going on. This short tracker has made a way into this series and comfortably in the 3,400-pound race cars here at Pocono with just a couple days of practice.
Yeah, definitely a driver to keep an eye on, Jim. Thanks for our Scott Brand Rookie Spotlight, Austin Wayne Self. Our starting grid's going to come crawling across the top of the screen. There's a look at our Menard starting grid. You see Larson and Townley right there on that front row. We said it's a quote-unquote oval race, but it is the triangle. Races like a road course. Let's kind of take a look at this racetrack here, Phil. 3 turns, very different.
Yeah, completely different. Turn 1 and 2, 14-degree banking. You run probably in excess of 200 miles an hour as you enter down into turn number 1. The tunnel turn, which is turn 2, 8 degrees banking, probably one of the most challenging turns in all of motorsports. So you come into that tunnel turn and you look directly at the wall on the other side of the tunnel turn, and then turn 3, so critical because that leads you onto that 3,700-foot straightaway. You want to get off that corner well so you can get down that straightaway well.
It is forever to sit there and watch him thunder down that front straightaway. Here's a look at our onboards here, beginning with Justin Boston. He's going to be starting 27th.
We're also going to ride along with Spencer Gallagher. He was a runner-up earlier this year at Salem, and he will start his Allegiant Travel Chevy from the 15th spot.
Up next, Cody Coughlin in the 55. He's going to be starting 10th today.
We're also going to ride along with Austin Wayne Self. We heard about a little bit about him. He will start from the 5th spot in his AM Technological Solutions Dodge, and he's 18 years old, and he's already got a couple top 5s this year.
And then rounding out our onboards will be Mason Mitchell. He's going to be starting up near the front of the grid, starting 4th here today. Good starting spot for him. Still a little ARCA spotlight just before we throw the green out there. Jim Trado, why don't you kick it off?
Well, the name Allison's pretty famous in any circles in the NASCAR world, but Donnie Allison's grandson, Justin Allison, is racing here in the ARCA Racing Series. Just 21 years of age, but driving this number 88 HavicoSales.com Ford. He had to get acclimated here to Pocono as well. I mentioned young drivers getting used to this place. Well, guess what? He was the fastest guy in practice on Wednesday after never being here. His new crew chief, Teddy Brown, and the drivers sat down, went over the data, which he's never done before. He said, I picked up a lot of speed on entry into turn 1, and my favorite turn on this racetrack is the tunnel turn. I've got a lot of speed there, so watch out for Justin Allison to have a strong run today, Wendy.
Our points leader, Grant Empinger, won the first 3 races of 2014 here in the ARCA Series. He didn't even know he was running the full ARCA season until Talladega, which means last week at New Jersey, they didn't have a road course car ready. They had to borrow one, and he ended up finishing 4th. This week, he's struggling a little bit with the balance of the race car, but Grant has experience on his pit box today. Kelly Kovsky, his crew chief, has won here in 2008 with Justin Allgaier. Phil Parsons?
Wendy, well, how about we talked about the fact that the 15 of John West Townley has to go to the back of the pack. Talk about racking up some miles, Ralph. It was in Texas last night, had a top 5 finish, a little fuel mileage strategy that worked last night for him and his guys. It may work again today. This race has become a fuel mileage race at times. John West Townley has a great race car. Brennan Poole did such a super job with it, a former winner here at Pocono, and he will go all the way to the back, but he's qualified 2nd.
Justin Boston, Phil, in the 25 is going to start 27th here today. Now, this is a young driver. When you talk to the guys on his team, they say he's got great character. Watch what happened to him here in qualifying. Overshooting it, backs it into the wall. I talked to the guys about it on the crew. Billy Venturini told me, he said, you know what? That's something I've never seen him do. He was going after Kyle Larson. He had the confidence. He thought he could get him, and he just overstepped it a little bit. It's a very fast driver, very fast race car. Even though he's coming from the back, keep an eye on him working his way through the field.
And Ralph, you saw the damage on that 25's Loop Toyota. They repaired that car, and that's the same car that he wrecked yesterday.
I asked Billy, how do you keep him from not being so overly aggressive in the races? You know, in qualifying, as you know, Phil, you really kind of have to go with nerve and grip. When you get in the race, you don't use a nerve as much. You just deal with the grip. You're feeling it through the car. That's why they feel confident about it. Okay, here we go. Getting ready for the start. Larson and Townley up on that front row. 80 laps here around the tricky triangle. Nerves at an all-time high as we watch for the pace car to exit to pit road and the RPMs to come up. Field is set. Here we go, racing live from Pocono.
Remember, these guys have not been on the racetrack with the exception of Kyle Larson since yesterday, and they're going to drive down in that corner at about 190 miles an hour.
It's got to be a huge advantage for Larson, at least on the opening lap or two, to have already gotten your brain up to speed.
Exactly, and that's what, there's no substitute for track time, and that's exactly why Kyle is in this race, to get track time to help him tomorrow.
Taking a look at Austin Wayne Self in the 22. Here comes the 69 of Will Kimmel as well.
See Mason Mitchell a little bit wide there through turn 3.
Larson already trying to open up a gap, that big horsepower in that number 4.
Look at him, 3 and 4 wide already on this front straightaway.
Boy, that's Pocono, isn't it? That's the shot you know from down in turn one, looking up that long straightaway. And here comes the 69 of Kimmel down the inside.
Will Kimmel gets to the inside of the 52 of Matt Tiff to take over that spot. I tell you, the track officials did such a great job repaving this racetrack a couple years ago, Ralph. It's amazing what a job they did on this 2.5-mile oval. And they just made it better by doing away with the curbs and putting an actual apron in all the way around this racetrack.
John West Townley in that 15. He's not wasting time, Phil. He's on the move.
Looks like he's got a little bit of a bump in the front nose of that car.
On the right side there.
Yeah. Looks like he got into the back of somebody. Right now he trails a 77 of Tom Hessert.
Jim, did somebody not start as quick as he was hoping for, or did he have to move somebody out of the way?
I did talk to him before the race. He said with that 3 hours of sleep, he knows he's got his work cut out for him from the back with a very fast car. I did not see the damage, nor did the crew have a big reaction to it. But he told me before the race he's going to worry about being patient and working through the field with his fast race car. The Zaxby's Toyota, very well balanced, one of the 4 Venturini cars here. Brennan Poole won here just a couple years ago, got that car dialed in. So John said, I think if I play it patient at the beginning of the race, I should be okay. But he may have gotten up on a slower car there, and that was causing nose damage. I'll check with the team if they have any issues.
I wouldn't be surprised to get a bit of an accordion effect on the start of this thing, Phil. Maybe somebody in front of him didn't go as quick as he thought they would.
Yeah, absolutely. He's knocking on the door right now with the top 10. That's a battle for 9th right in front of him. Cody Coughlin, one of his teammates in the Jegs number 55. Tom Hessert makes the pass on Cody to take over that 9th spot. Now John West up to 10th.
Yeah, he's going to go right with him, and here comes the 85 as well. Following her, the 86 of Nick Igdalski.
And if there's somebody that knows this racetrack, it's Nick Igdalski.
He should.
He's part of the management here and the owners of this racetrack.
Yeah, when your family owns it, you can get all the laps you want. Just 4 in the books as we ride with Cody Coughlin.
Cody had an incident in practice yesterday. He had to go to a backup car. That happened before qualifying, so he was able to retain his qualifying spot.
You know, you talked about how this race, as you really get a good look at that damage there to Townley's car, and then Coughlin there in the Jegs car. We talk about how this race, especially with Kyle Larson, sets the field up for tomorrow's event with the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series here. 7 former winners of this race are in tomorrow's Cup race.
Yeah, so many of the drivers have used this race for experience, just like Kyle Larson has. And it's been, and again, the ARCA Racing Series itself is a great proving ground for race car drivers.
It's also turned out to be a great division for guys like Frank Kimmel, Bobby Gerhardt, a lot of drivers that made tremendous careers just out of the ARCA Series.
Yeah, what an amazing career Frank Kimmel has had. 10 championships, 80 wins in the series.
Watching Frank here in the Ansel Menard's Toyota car number 44. So we chase him down one of the long straightaways here at Pocono. Stay with us. We're coming right back for more of the Pocono ARCA 200. Returns tonight with a full card of epic bouts, including 2nd-ranked Benson Henderson taking on 11th-ranked Rustam Habilov. Coverage begins with the pre-fight show tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern on Fox Sports 1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Pace car is out. We have had an incident. Tim Viens has crashed the 97. He was running 29th at the time.
Not sure he made any contact with the outside safer barrier. If he did, it was slight. He has it refired. But this is a great opportunity here. We've completed 7 laps. When the leaders come back around, it'll be 8 laps. A lot of the guys talked about maybe stopping this early so they know they can make it on one more stop. You see, just gets a little bit sideways right in the center of the corner. Let's see if he gets up there. He gets up there right to the safer barrier, stays out of it.
Woo. Can't get much closer than that, can you?
But he was all by himself, just got a little bit loose there. Incredible the speeds at this racetrack.
Boy, his foot was firmly planted on the brake there, wasn't it? As he tried to get that thing to come to a stop before he got to the safer barrier.
I was talking to Frank Kimmel in the garage area, and I said, hey, how early is too early to stop? He said, I think between 5 and 10 laps. That way we know we're in our window, that we can go past halfway and make one stop. A lot of the guys were talking about possibly making it on one stop period. But like I said, with qualifying, they were not allowed to top these cars off, and then they had the 3 pace laps. That's a long time around this 2.5 mile oval. So I think right now that we may see some guys, especially towards the back of the pack, with nothing to lose to come in.
Why not? 7 laps completed of the scheduled 80. A lot of the teams, as you said, some thinking definitely a 2-stop race.
Kyle Larson's coming to pit road. He's going to lead the whole bunch.
Yeah, well, if he's coming in, you can be pretty sure just about everybody else is going to do the same.
22 of Austin Wayne Self stays on the racetrack, so he will become our leader.
Majority of the rest of the field down to pit road.
I'm seeing fuel only on about everybody.
There's a 98 of Mitchell.
Yeah.
Let's go to Wendy.
Fuel only for Kyle Larson. Scott Zipadelli, who's calling this race, said it just wasn't enough green flag laps. They only had 6 of them on there right now. He said they would have taken tires if they had about 10 or 12. They're going to save the tires for later. He was tight in the beginning, but not tight in the center anymore. No changes.
Jim.
John West Townley's made his way up to 8th on the racetrack, but we're getting a really good look at the front nose of Townley's car. You guys saw it from our up cameras here on Fox Sports 1, but the nose is very evidently punched in. The hood pins are actually pinned down. They're putting bear bond on the nose. Luckily, these caution laps are long enough, but when they came down, I don't think the crew realized how bad the damage was, so they're putting a lot of tape now on the right front. Nothing with the grill opening. It's above that, above the grill opening itself on his Zaxby's Toyota, but a lot of damage, more so than the team thought, perhaps more than John West Townley thought as they're repairing that car. Again, Townley had to start in the back with a driver change, made it up to 8th, and now they're spending as much time as they need to here on pit road to repair the nose.
The way the drivers sit in the cars, Phil, it would be very difficult for Townley to have any idea how the damage is up there because of the way the nose slopes away from him. He would lose sight of the nose.
Jack says all he can do is look at the water temperature gauge, and even though it doesn't look like a lot of damage, and they're going to repair that, if they messed up the ductwork there, it could cause an overheating problem, even though we can't see that.
Townley, by the way, had worked his way all the way up to 8th. He did pit. We'll be right back. Back here to Pocono. There you see our new leader, Self, on the 22 behind the pace car. A little bit of a story on him in a minute, but let's check in on pit road. Jim Trado, some issues with the 15.
Yeah, this car was qualified second by Brennan Poole. They had to start in the back, so John was telling me with that nose damage, the team was not prepared to put as much bear bond on. It took them longer than they thought, so he got out of his pit stall here in the front stretch as the pace car was passing him on pit road. He blew through the stop sign. The ARCA officials said, nope, you did not beat the pace car out. He's 1 lap down. They thought, why not come back in and fix it right here in the 15 pit. Wendy?
Extreme amount of damage on Spencer Gallagher's machine on the left-hand side. It happened when he came down pit road. He's in pit stall number 2, directly behind him, pit stall number 3. And I was told by the team that it was Nick Igdalski that got into them on pit road as he was coming in. So they decided to fix the left side and pull out the damage that he had, 4 tires of fuel, and he is opting to come back down pit road and check that again. Of course, Spencer Gallagher, one of our full-time drivers here in the ARCA Series, 6th in points. He was having a good start so far. It started 15th, was a little bit tight, but now, of course, has to deal with the fender damage. Guys?
You can see he wasn't happy about that at all.
Not at all. And it's up to the crew chief of Nick Igdalski's car to say, hey, watch the 23. We have to know who's pitting around us, who's in front of us, who's behind us. And he sees the 86 there. He said that the 86 sees the 23 come in, and he has to let the 86 know, don't go, the 23's pulling in.
We talked about Austin Wayne Self staying out on the racetrack. He now leads. Look how he was shutting the car off, saving fuel. Phil, this is live. He was even doing this during the pace laps before the race went green. They are definitely in fuel-saving mode.
Yeah, undoubtedly, Chad Bryan, his crew chief, had a plan. Hey, we're going to make this on 1 stop. We're going to get this thing to at least halfway or there about halfway, make our 1 pit stop. So I think that's the strategy. And again, they started employing that strategy on the initial pace lap.
You got to do it early here, Wendy.
Absolutely. A funny story about Austin Wayne Self. We know that he does the iRacing, and he prepared for this racetrack that he had never been at before by playing the video game. And he said to me this morning, you can't hit restart when you make a mistake on the racetrack. That was the thing that we were joking about. But Austin says he wanted to learn what not to do and how to get through traffic, not drive inside the track. He was on full throttle throughout practice, and he learned that wasn't really helping him. So he took Tim Andrews, a crew member on the 77 of Tom Hessert, got some help from him, who's been around this racetrack, has raced this racetrack. So Austin Wayne Self, a rookie, just turned 18 2 weeks after Daytona.
Back to green here at Pocono.
He has his teammate Tom Hessert behind 3 wide. Kyle Larson peeks to the inside for a moment.
No, he's not going to get the lead, but he is going to get second as he chases Self, who was our Scotts Brand rookie spotlight driver earlier. Now he's going for the lead, Phil.
How about
here he
3
comes
wide?
to the inside as they race for the tunnel turn. Self on the outside. Here's Larson. Big horsepower in the 4. Whoa, there's a little bit of gamesmanship as they set for the corner. and Larson comes out with the lead.
A little bit of game of chicken down there. Grant Enfinger is one of the cars that I saw change 2 tires on that caution flag, so he has a little bit fresher right side tires than everybody else.
But if you're Self at the same time here, Phil, and you're thinking fuel mileage, maybe you let him go.
Yeah, and you know that 42 car is going to set the pace or draft off him a little bit. Right now his objective is to get to halfway. Mason Mitchell ducks out of line here, looks to the inside of the 52 of Matt Tifft. Mason's in that 98 car. Ralph Mason comes in here with 15 top 10 finishes in a row dating back to last season.
That's consistency. That's what a car owner likes to see, no doubt about it. As we watch Will Kimmel in that red 69, he's got the inside line.
Justin Allison, the 88 car, he really took to this racetrack, had a great qualifying effort. Qualified up in the 3rd spot, was fast in practice, as we see Justin Boston, the Zloop Toyota number 25, to the inside of Matt Tifft. Remember, Justin had to go, basically started from the back of the pack because he crashed qualifying.
Yeah, and as we said, as you see him battling here with the 52 at Tifft, this is a driver who feels he's got a very fast race car. If he can be patient, catches a couple of breaks, he could work that Zloop entry up towards the front and be a contender before this thing is over.
And finally got over the hump and got that first win a couple of races ago at Toledo. Did a nice job up there.
Wendy, a lot of people like Boston, the driver of that 25.
Well, Justin Boston told me this morning he didn't have a lot of adjustability in the race car, and that's something they worked on the open test session here Wednesday at Pocono. This is a brand new race car for Justin Boston, but you guys had mentioned he had damage from qualifying trying to go for the pole over our pole sitter Kyle Larson, but they actually had to take the right rear quarter panel off his teammate's car of Cody Coughlin, the number 55, and put it on there. So there was a little bit of adjusting of the quarter panel, but no doubt it looks like it's up to speed with the green flag dropped.
Great job by the crew to get the car prepped back into the race and ready to go, and to be this competitive, to give your driver something he can use. No doubt about it, the crew of the Ford gave Kyle Larson something he can use, and he's making the best of it here at Pocono. Look at the gap as everybody chases Larson. Back here at Pocono, 16 of the 80 laps in the books. This is the 58th time ARCA has raced here at the Tricky Triangle. Everybody chasing Kyle Larson today. This is the battle behind him. 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. If you go back to Frank Kimmel in the 44 there.
Yeah, Frank had a little bit of a run off the tunnel turn, but he had the slow car, the 48, on the inside, Rick Clifton, so he had to pull back in line. But his nephew Will Kimmel leads this pack right here in the 69 car.
Everybody staying in line in this pack as they set up for turn 1. Going to be pretty high.
Well, Matt Tiff's looking really racy, trying to stick that nose underneath Will Kimmel.
He's got it. Now he can get the drive off the corner down the next straightaway to the tunnel turn. He'll have the inside line, which should be the advantage. And he certainly has the horsepower. Look at that.
Yeah, this was a corner back in the day that you never ran through side by side. Right
we
now,
might hear.
Justin Boston's going to take advantage of Will being hung to the outside and get that spot.
How much does half a lane make a difference going through that tunnel turn as we see Kimmel coming through now? Frank trying to make a move on the younger Kimmel, and he's going to pull it off.
He's going to make it happen. Yeah, it makes a lot of difference. Not as much as it used to back before they repaved this racetrack, because this racetrack is good from the bottom all the way to the outside wall. There's a lot of grip everywhere.
Justin Allison is having a really good run right now, Phil. He's up to 3rd in car 88. There you see him. Actually, yeah, right behind Self, sitting there in 3rd. And this is a driver, you and I were both talking to Donnie, his grandfather, Donnie Allison, about what makes this young driver such a talented driver. And Donnie said, you know, look, it'd be easy for me to be biased since it's my grandson, but I'm telling you, I've worked with so many young drivers over the year. And don't forget, this is a guy who helped develop Joey Logano. And he said, I'm telling you, Justin is as good, if not better, than any young driver I've ever seen. including Joey Logano.
Yeah, and he's done a really great job. Had a top 10 finish at Toledo a couple of races ago. Really fairly new to this type of racing. He ran a couple of races last year, then been running sporadically again this year. But it's funny, this is coming from a guy that raced Indy cars here in 1970. His grandfather Donnie, driving for A.J. Foyt.
And he becomes the 5th Allison to have raced here at Pocono. Bobby competed here in Cup and USAC, Davey in Cup, Donnie in Cup and USAC, and Clifford in the ARCA series.
What a great racing family.
Oh, one of the best. Well, it's still all Kyle Larson, 20 laps in the books. And the white and red number 4 continues to lead. We head out west to my good friend Jenny Taft with an update for us. Coming up next, it's a full day of MLB action, beginning with the Indians taking on the Rangers on Fox Sports 1. Then it's Baseball Night in America on Fox as Derek Jeter and the Yankees square off against the Royals. The defending World Series champion Red Sox battle Miguel Cabrera and the Tigers, or you'll see the A's and the Orioles. Our MLB doubleheader begins next at 3 p.m. Eastern on Fox Sports 1 and continues 7 p.m. Eastern on Fox.
I'm pulling for the Tigers among all those teams.
I got all the A's. A's. And there is Kyle Larson.
He might be pulling for the A's too.
Well, he would be. He's from my neck of the woods in Northern California. Grew up in Elk Grove, just outside of Sacramento, where I'm from. So he'd be an A's and Giants guy, just like me.
Justin Allison looks to the inside of Austin Wayne Self. Now he's going to peek back behind him.
As we watch these guys, Phil, a lot of our viewers have probably been watching the NASCAR Sprint Cup coverage here on Fox from Pocono this weekend. In that division, guys are shifting. Not the case here in ARCA.
Yeah, I think it's a good move too, because it's a lot more expensive to bring a transmission that you could shift with, just like the Cup guys have. And they have an ignition box that limits them to 8,800 RPMs. That's the problem with the Cup guys, is they feel like they would turn too many RPMs with the right gear to get off these corners. So that's why they allow them to shift, so they don't over rev the engine. But these guys are controlled as to how many RPMs they can turn by that ignition box. So they can put whatever rear end gear they want in there, but they know it's only going to turn 8,800 RPMs, which is not too many. So I think it's a great call by ARCA officials to reduce the cost a little bit.
As we watch Allison battling here with Self for second, we drop back. Enfinger, who is the ARCA points leader here coming into round 7, sits in 9th and is number 94.
Yeah, Grant's not having the type of run he would like. We're used to seeing him run up front. He won the first 3 races of the season this year. Then he's had another 9th, a 12th, and a 4th after that. He's got a 55-point lead coming into this race, but I think he'd like to be a little bit closer to the front. And again, he's one of the guys, I think they needed a pretty significant adjustment, so they put right side tires on that first pit stop. All these teams will have 2 sets of Mason Mitchell down on pit road, Jim.
Came in unexpectedly, but they're asking if he feels the rear axle is not engaging. They think they may have an axle issue. Mason Mitchell, again, that string of top 10s has him in the top 5 in the point standings. The 19-year-old came in, they changed rear tires, and away he goes in his 98 Ford.
And Jim, he was running 4th when he headed to pit lane, so he was in position to get another one of those great finishes. Still a lot of laps to go, and he's got a lot of work to do as well. Let's take a look at the fight over 6th position right now. Per Kimmel's having at it with Frank running behind Will.
Yeah, Will's still looking for that first win in ARCA Racing Series, and we mentioned earlier Frank has 80, but Will's a great competitor. He has Ingersoll Rand Messina's on this Ford for his own father's race team.
Wendy Venerini with more on the story of Frank Kimmel in the 44.
You know, when Frank's 43 starts and 3 wins here at Pocono, he never had a chance to test here until Wednesday when ARCA held an open test session. He said he feels confidence on the gains they made Wednesday, especially with working with Jamie Jones, his crew chief, and just getting to know each other and the communication back and forth. But that was definitely an advantage for Frank Kimmel coming in to Pocono. Jim?
Well, his nephew Will Kimmel runs right ahead of him in that Messina's Ingersoll Rand Ford. This red and black Ford is from the family team, Bill Kimmel Racing. Frank and Bill are brothers. They won all sorts of races. Then they went their separate ways. Will came through now as the next driver in the Kimmel Racing prodigy. He has 7 starts here at Pocono, 4 with the family team. This will be the 5th today. But last year, he got a chance here at Pocono to race for Cunningham Motorsports. He finished 7th and 31st after a tire went down early, but he is confident. He told me before the race, this is by far the best car I've ever had here at Pocono. We put a lot of work into this. We're going to run for the front. Wendy?
You know, guys, I just want to update you on Kyle Larson as he continues to pull pull away from the field with a 4.5-second lead. The last 4 laps that our leader Kyle Larson has gone by me into turn 1, he turns off the engine and is coasting into 1. Now, of course, they did take fuel on lap 8, no tires, saving those for the end, but a little bit, there it goes. It just turned off right in front of us at pit stall number 1 as he goes into 1. A little bit of an advantage of saving fuel, huh, Phil?
It certainly is, and he may be practicing as well for tomorrow too, because he may have to do that tomorrow with that 400-mile race here for the Cup Series.
That's a great point, Phil. And when you're running down that front straightaway at close to 200 miles an hour, you shut that engine off, you can coast almost all the way to the tunnel term if you got to turn it back on. Back here at Pocono, 30 of the scheduled 80 laps in the books. Ralph Shaheen, Phil Parsons, Jim Trado, and Wendy Venturini covering the action for you live here today on Fox Sports 1 on a beautiful day to go racing and a great day to be Kyle Larson because he's smoking the field right now. 5.1 seconds to gap between first and second, even after he shuts the engine off, coasting down into turn 1 to save fuel. He's still gaining ground on everybody.
Yeah, he certainly is. What a great pace he's setting right now. And again, learning some more for tomorrow. We have a change in second position, though. Justin Allison has been able to get by Austin Wayne Self to take over that second spot. So now he's about 4 seconds behind right now, Kyle Larson. There's Bobby Gerhart, longtime competitor, and just about every time we tee it up at Daytona, Bobby Gerhart, if he doesn't win, he's certainly in contention to win. That's a battle for the 14th spot.
Yeah, he's got Prater right behind him in the number 2. As we talk about guys like Bobby Gerhart, we mentioned earlier, drivers who've made great careers just out of ARCA. He's one of them.
Certainly is. Carl Weber's that 3 car right behind him. He's actually going to look to the inside of Tommy Prater. He's another one of the teenagers. Again, he's another one of the 17-year-olds that ARCA allowed to run here at Pocono starting last season.
And boy, to get an opportunity to run in the draft behind a driver like Bobby Gerhart, that's a fantastic way to learn.
Yeah, certainly is. Longtime competitor here in the series.
And if you can't get behind Frank Kimmel, get behind Bobby Gerhart. Those would be your top 2 choices, right?
Right now, I'd want to get behind Kyle Larson because he's the fastest cat here.
No doubt about that. Certainly behind his motorman, I can tell you that, right, Wendy?
Yeah, Bobby Gerhart, I want to tell you a story what happened with him this weekend. After qualifying, he felt like he had an issue with the brakes as he was coming down in his cool-down lap onto pit road. Well, they realized the left front caliper seal was leaking, so they decided to work on that. He had to start from the back of the pack, but he fired it up this morning, was running the race car here in the garage area. Bobby Gerhart has worked his way up to 17th, and a track he's typically very good at.
And Prater just gets around him, Wendy, as they cross the line. Let's see if he can hold the spot going into 1. He moves up a little bit on Bobby. Bobby might lose another one here, too. Yeah, he's just hung out there.
Yeah, Carl Weber took advantage of that inside line there to get by Bobby Gerhart. Now he's going to set sail for that 2 of Tommy Prater.
You know, we talked about some of the famous families in racing, the Allisons and everything they've done here at Pocono. Obviously, the Kimmels, another great family, maybe the most well-known family in ARCA competition. But when you talk about racing in general, boy, the Coughlins are right there as we ride with Cody here.
Certainly is, but a drag racing background, way different than what he's doing here, turning left. His family always went straight and really fast.
Well, they do have to turn left to exit off the track.
Well, that's true, but they slow way down before they do that.
Yeah. But he's been working his way up through the oval ranks, and here he is running in ARCA and running well. Today, running in 8th, trying to catch Frank Kimmel.
Yeah, he's run 3 times this year at the start of his ARCA career, and he's gotten better each time. 13th the first race, 9th, and then 6th the last time out at Toledo.
On board with Cody, watching him work the wheel, and Jim Trado has more for us on the story of Cody Coughlin.
And not too shabby, guys. This is his very first super speedway start, just 18 years of age, trying to make a dozen or so ARCA races this season. He's surrounded himself with a lot of solid people, not only venturing in motorsports, one of the lead teams, especially when it comes to young driver development, but he also has Kevin Hamlin working and overseeing his short track program. Kevin, a crew chief in NASCAR Sprint Cup for drivers like Dale Earnhardt and others throughout the years. He oversees Cody's short track deal. When he goes racing with the ARCA Racing Series, he's brought in Scott Wimmer to be his driver coach and spotter here today. Wimmer is telling him what line to run, how close to get the cars ahead of him. What a better way to learn quickly here in the super speedways than surround yourself with veterans as Cody Coughlin has here today.
Well, and as I'm watching Cody in the car here, Phil, one of the things I notice outside of totally free shipping and handling is the fact that he's very relaxed in the car. He's not gripping that steering wheel too tight. He's casually glancing in the mirror at the right time to see where the competition is behind him. He looks right at home.
Yeah, and you see him use that forearm a little bit on that steering wheel when he turns left. That just will allow a driver not to get as tired. If you have that steering wheel way away from you and your arms are extended, it gets you tired a lot quicker. But he's doing it just the right way. He's in the right spot there. And as you mentioned, he looks very, very calm behind the wheel.
Back to the front we go, and Kyle Larson hanging right there, just a tick over 5 seconds in front of everybody as he closes up on the two of Prater. So he's working 15th right now. Inside of him, he's going to put him away here pretty quick.
Yeah, he's setting a pretty torrid pace. Only one caution flag so far in this race, and that came early. Most of the teams came down pit road on lap number 8. We know that Austin Wayne Self and his teammate Tom Hessert did not come down pit road, so we're getting pretty close to those guys having to make a green flag pit stop here.
Close to halfway here in Pocono. Scheduled for 200 miles, that's 80 laps, 36 of them on the board already. Kyle Larson putting in the laps, putting a beat down on the competition. Well, everybody knew coming to Pocono, once they saw that Kyle Larson had entered the Pocono ARCA 200, that they had their hands full trying to win this race. And they have played out some different strategies here today, trying to see if they could shake things up on Larson a little bit. Austin Wayne Self went for a gamble with fuel strategy, and Wendy, he finally had to come to pit road.
Yeah, it was lap 36 when he did come down pit road for 4 tires and an air pressure adjustment, but the day just got a lot worse for the 18-year-old rookie here in the ARCA series because he was too fast entering and exiting pit road, so he does have to serve a pass-through penalty. His teammate Tom Hessert also leaving pit road, opting to pit 2 laps later.
If he hadn't had the speeding penalty on pit road here, he wasn't necessarily out of the mix with the strategy. The strategy still could have potentially paid off.
Absolutely. If his team felt like they could make it the 44 laps from when he pitted to the end of the race, then he certainly was back in the mix. But he really had no advantage over Kyle Larson because Kyle Larson was in front of him by about 5 seconds, and we know he pitted on lap number 8. So we know Kyle can go somewhere past halfway. I think everybody right now is in the window where they could probably stop and make it within the next 3 or 4 laps. So I think we're going to see everybody come to pit road here in the next 5 laps or so.
So again, Austin Wayne Self too fast entering pit road. He's going to have to come back in here
yet again. He's already served one penalty.
He's got to do it again.
He was speeding on his penalty.
Just crazy. When things go bad, sometimes they go really bad.
And we see that so many times, well, Ralph, with younger drivers. In fact, they don't make a whole bunch of green flag pit stops in the ARCA Racing Series, and this is one of those times when he's been busted twice for speeding. May not have had a good tack rating on the pace laps, but we have 3 pace laps, so we have enough time to get a good tack rating because the pace car on the pace laps will run pit road speed, but there's a bit of a disconnect somewhere.
There he goes, past the line and back at it.
Pretty frustrating situation right now for this driver and team.
And now he's got to learn about regrouping mentally and getting yourself back in the game, right?
Yeah.
No problems here.
No problems with Kyle Larson.
So what do you think is the biggest thing he's learned here so far today as we've reached the halfway point of this thing? Is it the fuel mileage game of shutting the engine on and off as he prepares for tomorrow?
I think that's part of it, and also this racetrack here. I saw him a few laps ago. You see him right now dip those left sides really down below the yellow line. I'm not sure anybody has done that much. Trying to see if there's some extra grip. Maybe if that'll help turn the car if he's got a little bit of a tight situation. And every lap he's learning something, and obviously he's a quick study. He's only been racing pavement for about 2 or 3 years now, and he's already won 2 nationwide races as well as finished second at California in the Cup race.
You saw him even catching a draft off the back of one of the slower cars as Tift, who is running in 3rd, makes his way down pit road. As we said, we're past that halfway point. So a lot of guys needing the fuel. Wendy.
And Matt Tift decides to come down pit road on lap 41. No complaints from Matt on his also a rookie year for him and his first time at this racetrack. A little bit long on that right front. It looks like things got held up, but they are going to opt for 4 tires.
Yeah, 2 third-place finishes in his last 2 races coming in here for this 17-year-old. What a great teacher to have, somebody like Kenny Schrader that owns this 52 Federated car. Even though he's not here, he's out racing somewhere.
He's off playing with his dirt toys. And we go back to Larson up front. You know what I love about Kyle Larson is there's no racing and no race car too big or too small to intrigue this young man about getting behind the wheel and playing with it right down the same path of an AJ Foyt and a Tony Stewart. Here's a guy who's already been in the Daytona 500 this year. He's running an ARCA race at Pocono. He's got a cup race tomorrow. Well, just a week or so ago, we were at Little Millbridge Speedway outside of Mooresville, North Carolina, running outlaw sprint karts, and he was on the phone to Chip Ganassi, begging him to let him get in one of those little sprint karts and go racing, because he knew how much fun it was to do. And it wasn't about winning, because there's not a whole lot of money up for grabs. It was about being a racer and getting in that kart and battling with his buddies and having a good time. And now here he is on the grand stage of Pocono a week or so later, learning again.
Ralph, I was at the go-kart track in Mooresville, North Carolina last year, and Kyle had just flown in from somewhere racing a sprint car, and there was a rental car race getting ready to start. Not just a practice, really, a rental car practice, and he jumped in one of those cars and went out there to run some laps in a go-kart.
He's something else. Couple of guys diving down pit road here, including Boston in the 25 and Will Kimmel in the 69. Let's go down to Wendy.
Justin Boston, who had started 27th due to a crash in qualifying, did not go to a backup car, but instead opted to fix the right rear fender, I should say. Now on this run, he's tight in the center. He just stalled it momentarily here on pit road. Tight in the center, especially in turn 3 for Justin Boston, but has been free off. They're going to make those adjustments. It's going to be 4 tires. No mistakes was the call on the radio, and it has stalled again. It's fired back up for Justin Boston. He gave up that 3rd position here on the green flag pit stop.
You know, that car stalled a couple times. I wonder if maybe he was short of gas, Ralph, and that's why he came to pit road on this lap.
Yeah, he might have taken it too far, huh?
But with only 36 laps to go, he should be within his window. Frank Kimmel now, the 44 car, being shown in the 3rd spot, is headed to pit road.
Here comes Frank, making his way down pit road. Winningest driver in the history of the series.
He did it in grand style last year, winning that 80th race when he clinched the championship at Kansas in the final race of the season.
And problems again now for the 22. Things just escalating for Self here in the wrong direction.
He's very, very slow coming to pit road. Nick Igdalski's going to come by on the outside. That's the difference between, he's probably at pit road speed, and you see Austin Wayne Self obviously very, very slow here. Justin Allison, our 2nd place car, is on pit road.
Self went to the garage. Here comes Allison. We go to Jim.
And they're worried about the water pressure. 270 the last 5 laps. They had the water pump waiting for them. They're just going to go with 4 tires, a chassis adjustment, and Sunoco fuel. Hoosier tires on the right side going in. Their call was for 4. The car rolls slightly forward on the jack, but it did not hamper the 2 right side tires. They're going to do 4 here for Justin Allison. Came pitting out of 2nd position. They're worried about the nose, so they're going to peel a piece of tape rather than pop the hood and add fresh cold water to this Ford. Long delay on the right rear now.
Looks like they may have some lug nuts missing or something, Jim.
Well, he rolled the car slightly forward, guys. That might have gotten the jack out of position, or the lug nuts out of the handle there, as the rear tire changer took a long time there. Just 2 is the call now. A little bit of water spitting out the overflow as well for Justin Allison.
Tara, now it stalls, Jim. Yep, now it stalls.
May have been another situation where he was out of fuel as well. It didn't sound like the engine was running when he got to pit road. He has it fired now.
Well, this brings up an interesting moment. You and I were talking with Donnie Allison about Justin, and we asked him, what's the biggest thing you've got to do to improve him? And he said, I got to get the Allison out of him. And what he meant by that was, as you and I both chuckled when he said it, is that he's got to teach him how to stay calm inside the race car. A moment like that, when you're having a great run and now things kind of spiral out of control a little bit, you got to learn how to gather it back up quickly.
Kyle Larson continues to run here. He completes lap 47. John West Townley now on pit road. Remember, John West was penalized because he did not beat the pace car to the end of pit road on that last caution flag.
Oh, here's some great three-wide racing down the front straightaway. Tift is on the bottom there in the 52.
Josh Williams, that 6 in the middle. Carl Weber, the 3 on the outside.
Oh, and Tift's going to be the first one there.
Matt Tift right now is being shown in the 4th spot.
He drifts up a little bit on him, had to let him run up the racetrack a little bit, carrying all that speed.
Carl Weber in that 3 car right now is being shown in the 3rd position. He has not come to pit road yet since that lap 8 caution flag. Our top 3 cars on the racetrack right now have not come to pit road since lap 8.
Everybody will be keeping an eye on Larson here to see what the driver in the 4 does.
And most of them hoping for no caution flag, other than maybe Grant Enfinger, who's on the lead lap with him.
Well, Enfinger needed to gain some ground, to gain some more points on the field. If he can work this right, maybe he can do that. He's going to have a hard time catching Larson.
Our leader on pit road back here at Pocono Raceway, he just pulled away after 4 tires fuel. They waited to fill it with the fuel. He was a little tight on the exit. They made a slight adjustment for our leader, Kyle Larson.
Wendy, he went 39 green flag laps.
So we know with 50 laps completed, we know he can go the rest of the way. Some of those drivers that pitted right after halfway, they may be questionable, but we know Kyle Larson's good to go. So he'd make his way by the 5 of Bobby Gerhardt. That's Tom Birdie in the 66.
He just drives it right down in there, doesn't he?
Tom goes way wide, but again, enough grip up there to catch that car. We'll see when scoring cycles by, when Kyle Larson comes by the start-finish line, where his competitors are. Matt Tift right now is being shown in the 2nd position with Justin Boston 3rd and Mason Mitchell, remember, that pitted way early in that 98 car. It cycled back around now where he's in the top 5.
That's what we're waiting for, and here it is, 63.9 seconds. Not only has he been crushing them on the racetrack today, but a lot of the competition has made mistakes on pit road that's cost him even more time.
Yeah, there's been a lot of his competitors that have shot themselves in the foot on pit road, either with the slow pit stop or speeding on pit road a couple times, like Austin Wayne Self. We have air hoses get hung up, and it's from the start to finish, you have to be concentrated. You can't give up anything, whether it's coming to pit road, leaving pit road, or on pit road.
And not just the driver, but the pit crew. If you're only doing 1, maybe 2 stops max during the day, you can't afford to put your driver deep in the field by making a mistake on pit road. And Austin Wayne Self, who was our Scott Brand rookie spotlight driver today, had such a great race going. Then he had 2 situations on pit road that cost him, and then finally something mechanical went wrong with the car. His day is done. At one point in time, he was leading this race. Now we're watching the fight here. This is over 4th position. Will Kimmel will take that spot over Mitchell.
Yeah, Will Kimmel has about 20 laps less on his tires than does Mason Mitchell. Remember, he made an unscheduled pit stop back on lap number 24, so he desperately needs a caution flag right now to get caught back up, because we know he has to make another pit stop, and we know Kyle Larson does not.
Now everything cycles back around on the time, and you see Larson's time cut down to 28.8. That's everything getting caught back up.
Guess what, Ralph? The 4 car, a pass-through penalty for leaving pit road and going above the blend line before he got over to the exit of turn number 1. He's on pit road right now.
Oh, I missed that. Good catch, Phil Parsons. Here we go. This could definitely shake things up. Well, if something was going to go to the favor of the field, it was going to have to be a mistake. And we didn't expect it, but Larson made it, and it's going to cost him. Let's see what this does now.
I'm waiting for Matt Tift.
Here he is,
He's
right
at the
here,
start-finish line. Kyle Larson will not lose the lead here. He lost a lot of his lead, but he will not lose the lead. There's Matt Tift right there. Matt continues to run in the 2nd spot. Kyle had built up enough of a lead that he did not lose the lead, but he lost a lot of the cushion he had.
With the kind of lead that Larson had, he could have stopped the target and done some shopping and got back in the car and continued to lead the way he was going early on today. Tiff's got to watch it coming around some of those slower cars.
We talked about Kyle Larson being penalized, Ralph, for going above the blend line as he exited the pits. There's a white line down there. You're supposed to stay on the apron until you get over to the exit of turn number 1. Kyle Larson did not do that. Let's see if we can take a look back. Here's the end of his pit stop there. They put the left side tires on. He takes off now. He has to stay below the yellow line on the apron of the racetrack. Let's see when he goes above this yellow line. He's above it right now.
There.
He's above it right now.
Yeah, he just went right out.
So the ARCA officials brought him back to pit road for a pass-through penalty. We saw him go back underneath the yellow line, but the damage was done. Yeah, Kyle Larson, remember, the reason he's running this race, he's never been to this racetrack before because the Nationwide Series that he raced last year does not run here.
Fighting for 5th here. Mitchell and Kimmel. And that's in itself, what just happened there with Kyle Larson is worth everything for the Ganassi guys to have him run this race as they prepare for tomorrow.
I will bet you that he does not do that again.
Guaranteed. Wendy, what can you tell us about the 44?
Well, Frank Kimmel came down pit road, and much like everyone else, took 4 tires and an adjustment. Now, there was a lot of question on pit road among officials because the air gun went flying in the air. There was no penalty for Frank Kimmel. The air gun did not leave the pit box, and the other reason why I asked the ARCA officials why he didn't get penalized, it was because it got caught in the wheel well on the right rear tire, not that the fact that he drove over the air hose. Phil, that might clear up some questions here on pit road.
Yeah, I think that's a good non-call, Wendy, not to bring him to pit road, because we caught a glimpse of that during the commercial break where the air hose was hung around the right rear tire.
Sometimes the best call by an official is a no call.
Exactly right.
Let's check in with Jim.
Well, the discussion here in Mason Mitchell's pit is they want a caution. They're actually saying there's debris on the backstretch and turn the tunnel turn. The ARC officials now are going over to tell the team they've taken a look. They're going to stay under green flag conditions, but they want a caution in the worst way. Mitchell coming in this race second in points, overcoming that what they thought was an axle issue and a pit under green. They want the best run possible. They're sitting right here in the top 10, but they want a caution. They need one to get him down pit road under yellow if they can.
Jim, I think Tiff would like one as well. He gained over 20 seconds on Larson due to Larson, 24 seconds actually, with Larson having to deal with that penalty. He's now 7.5 seconds behind him. You give him a shot with the yellow, you just never know. Tiff's got a fast race car.
Absolutely. And Mason Mitchell right now, he's run 32, 33 laps on this fuel load right here. So I would be seeing stuff all over the racetrack too, Ralph, because I need a caution flag bad.
Yep, no doubt about it. Well, we said Pocono is tough to get your head around, your arms around. These guys are all dealing with it. Look at all the youngsters up front, and then the veteran of Frank Kimmel chasing them down. Second caution of the day here at Pocono. The Pocono ARCA 200 with 21 laps to go is slowing down. And everybody's going to get to catch up to Kyle Larson. There is debris on the racetrack. Is that an axle?
Looks like an axle, yeah. And I wonder if it might have been from Austin Wayne Self's car, because we saw him go to the garage area, and I really haven't found out exactly what happened to him, but we saw some issues on pit road for him. But that's definitely a dangerous situation. So great call by the ARC officials to put this race under caution. And oh, by the way, there goes that 7-second lead Kyle Larson had.
Yep, that's been vaporized, no doubt about it.
I don't think Mason Mitchell threw that axle out on the racetrack. We know he needed a caution flag, but I'm pretty sure he didn't throw it on the racetrack.
The ARC officials have picked it up, and we'll be going back to green here in a minute with less than 20 to go.
I love the fact that it gives these guys an opportunity to work on these cars. Only 8 cars right now on the lead lap, so really no disadvantage to come on down pit road, get you another adjustment. If you got another set of tires, go ahead and put that on there as well.
Hey, look, if you're the guys that are here with Larson, this is a good learning experience for him too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sure, we want to win, but it's nothing wrong with putting a little extra pressure on our guy, seeing how he deals with it.
Absolutely. No mistakes on this pit stop. No, if these cars come down road, you cannot make up for a mistake this time. We talked about track position being important here. This is going to be inside of 20 laps to go a restart, so track position is going to be important.
You know who's really going to benefit from this is Allison, sitting back there in 8th. He's still on the lead lap, had a fast race car,
Had some issues on pit road.
Had some issues on pit road. This gives him an opportunity to, whether or not he can win it, he can certainly race his way into the top 5, maybe the top 3.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just to make the right adjustment now here. It's going to be a big pit stop for all these guys.
The people under the most pressure right now are all standing on pit road.
Absolutely, but the driver has to make sure he gets in his pit right, doesn't speed down pit road and give it up.
Here comes the leader. Larson is in. A few others are staying out, including the 77 of Hessert and the 90 of Enfinger. Jim, it's going to get busy on pit road.
And this is a caution Mason Mitchell needed, the 19-year-old coming to pit road. They're going to get tires in this number 98 Technology Solution Services machine. He's down here as well, pitting from 6th. Again, this young man has had a very strong run. Here at Pocono Raceway, he's had some limited starts last year, both top 10 finishes. His team now is his own, Mason Mitchell Motorsports. Matt Weber, the crew chief, calling for 4 tires here, and he's down and away. 69 Will Kimmel also in, pitting from the 4th position. That Ford is very fast. He was actually faster than Matt Tifft in the last green flag segment. The call from his father, Bill, the crew chief, 4 tires. He's down and away.
Matt Tifft on pit road with 2 tires. Justin Boston also giving up his 3rd place position, 4 tires in a lengthy stop. And our leader, Kyle Larson, opting to come down pit road for 4 fresh tires. Scott Zipadelli, his crew chief, said, if we give up this tracked position, you might have to drive your hiney off to pass to win. Kyle Larson's response, let's do it.
And Larson all the way down below that yellow line. He found that blend line. He's got it good for tomorrow. All right, stay with us. You don't want to miss the finish of this one. 19 to go here at Pocono. Tomorrow, live coverage from here in Pocono continues with a complete preview of the Sprint Cup race on NASCAR Race Day at 11 a.m. Eastern. Then get all the highlights, analysis, and reaction on NASCAR Victory Lane at 7 p.m. Eastern here on Fox Sports 1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go.
Halfway through the race to the chase.
You know, you come to the Poconos, you're thinking about some good pizza, right?
How do they keep passing it, though?
I don't know, because I haven't had lunch today, and I'm telling you, well, you know he's not passing it.
He's not going
up,
to
right?
pass it. He's not going to pass it.
Yeah, he's definitely grabbing a slice.
He might get 2 there.
Any chance we get that pass up this way?
He's going to reach back and get one.
That's some good-looking pizza.
It really is.
I tell you. Jim, you've had your fair share of pizza in your day, haven't you?
Yes, with you, Ralph, as a matter of fact.
Yes.
We've shared many a slice. Hey, here's a slice for you. This race could change dramatically. On the restart, Justin Allison will be our race leader. However, the reason why he didn't pit, according to team owner Howard Bixman, the car is stuck in 4th gear. All he has is high gear. They don't plan on coming to pit road, but this restart is going to be very interesting. Bixman has walked all the way down pit road to try to coach his driver to find a spot to ginger the gas pedal, stay on the brake as long as he can to get the RPMs up to start this race in the restart in 4th gear. Should be a lot of interesting run down this long front straightaway.
The other thing he has, Phil, are tires that are 15 laps older than Larson and the guys right behind him.
Yeah, he's going to get killed on this restart, though. But they need to make sure Matt Tifft, the 52, knows that he doesn't have anything but 4th gear, or Matt could run all over him. So hopefully they've sent that message over to the 52 crew, as well as Will Kimmel and the people behind him. We've had a lot of wave around, so we're going to end up with more cars on the lead lap. John West Townley's been playing catch up this entire race from that penalty from not beating the pace car to the end of pit road. Now he's going to be back on the lead lap.
Yeah, we talked about those guys as we were going to break that stayed out on the track like Enfinger and them. They gained some ground back up. They're back on the lead lap here. We have 13 cars right now on the lead lap, all the way back to Weber in the 3.
Going to be a critical restart. Kyle Larson's in a great spot. Number 1, he's got the car on his inside that only has 4th gear. So watch for that outside line to go. Justin Boston right now is running in the 4th spot, so he will be lined up and behind Kyle Larson, so he should be able to go with him. Tom Hessert is our free pass recipient. You saw him passing. He will pass the pace car, and he's allowed to do that. Go all the way back around and fall into the tail of the field.
See another car getting pushed off the racetrack, so we're going to go one more lap. So we should have 16 to go when we come back to the line. 16 laps remaining here in Pocono.
Flagman is showing the competitors 1 lap to go for this restart. It gives Tom Hessert time to drive all the way around the racetrack and fall in at the tail of the field.
That was a 40 of Jay Curry that was getting pushed to pit lane.
Here are the wave rounds that already have caught up to the field. John West Townley, Spencer Gallagher, Carl Weber. How about the 86 car right now running in the 10th spot, Nick Igdalski. Nick's best career finish came right here. You would hope it would at his home racetrack. This race last year, he had a strong top 10 going, got involved in an accident not of his making, and then came back here the next race and finished 11th for his best career finish. So Nick looking to maybe better that a little bit here.
Yeah, he's in 10th right now, and depending on how this restart goes and everything, he could be deeper inside that top 10, which would be an outstanding run for him.
Josh Williams, the 6th car. He is the first car being shown 1 lap down in the 15th position in that red number 6.
So if you got your car stuck in 4th, how do you want to approach this start?
I think you want to slowly build speed up. There's a certain restart zone where you want to go before that because you're not going to really be accelerating like everybody else can. And then I think you want to get out of the way because these cars will come thundering by you.
There's going to be some lag in this. You're going to put your foot to the floor, and it's going to take a while for it all to catch up with you.
Yeah, most of the time you will restart this race in the 2nd gear, so it's going to be really challenging for Justin Allison not to be passed by all these lead lap cars. But if he can hold the field back a little bit, gradually start now picking up his speed, because it's not going to look obvious that he's going early because he's not going to accelerate.
Well, here we go. Green flag waves with 16 to go here in Pocono.
Saw Kyle Larson. He was doing his best not to beat him to pit road. And look at 4 and 5 wide.
And Tift has got a couple of cars right behind him. Can Larson get to the corner first? Yo, he does, but it's going to be tight, and we're going to have 2 cars spinning. Tift is involved, as well as the 25 of Boston, and that's going to bring out another caution.
Tough to break. We saw them 4 and 5 wide, and they have to funnel down to at least 2 wide as they got down to turn number 1. And the 52 of Tift and the 25 of Boston make contact.
2 of the better cars in the field. We knew this restart was going to be challenging. Everybody had fanned out to get around Allison, and they were all fighting to get that piece of property going into turn 1. They just ran out of it.
And that was a brand new race car, that Zloop number 25 for Justin Boston.
Not anymore.
No. Let's take a look, Ralph, and see what happened. And we see him there. Now they're trying to funnel down. They funnel down to 3 wide. Boston came down a little bit on Tift. And hard contact into that safer barrier for Justin Boston. They just ran out of racetrack there. They were tight there. They were 3 wide getting in this corner. We see that happen so often on these restarts. And again, it was all predicated by the 88 of Justin Allison not being able to go.
One more look at it.
I don't think Justin Boston realized that Matt Tift had somebody underneath him. He thought Matt Tift would take his normal line down to the very bottom of the racetrack. Justin came down.
Watching from Coughlin. You know, it wasn't aggressive, Phil. They were just right there. At those speeds,
the slight contact is all it
doesn't
takes.
take much, does it?
No, it certainly doesn't. But boy, they sure paid the price.
Well, the owners did.
Yes, they did.
Well, they're going to clean this up. We'll be right back to Pocono. We're going to have one more restart, at least, under our 3rd caution of the day. One between Boston and Tift. As we were watching the replays during the commercial break, Phil, we noticed one other car got turned around in that incident. It was Tom Hessert in the 77.
Yeah, Tom had just gotten a free pass on this caution flag. Watch, actually behind this contact right here. Tom's on the outside there, and it looks like he just shot across the racetrack, and I don't know if there was contact with a car from behind or not, but he made pretty significant contact with the outside safer barrier. He's been on pit road now a couple times trying to repair the damage because he still remains on the lead lap.
You know, looked like he made a little contact with Tom Birdie in the 66, and I don't know if that was enough contact to get him to go up there. See, watch it here.
A lot of contact from Tom Birdie in the 66. Yeah, Spencer Gallagher does an awesome job getting by in the Legionnaire Chevrolet we were riding along with.
Yeah. Well, while we're still under yellow, the laps are still ticking off here. So it looks to me, Phil, I'm going to guess we're going to have less than 10 to go when this thing goes back to green.
Yeah, there's going to be a bit of a cleanup over there in turn one.
Well, while they take care of their business, we'll take care of ours. That way we can show you all the remaining laps. Green flag live here on Fox Sports. Back here at Pocono, you know, we've had 16 different winners in the last 16 Pocono races with ARCA here. Drivers like Michael McDowell, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Justin Allgaier, Joey Logano, Chase Elliott, and Frank Kimmel. Now, Kimmel's the only one of those 16 who could repeat here today. If he could pull it off, he sits in 5th right now behind Larson.
Let's see if we can take this opportunity to talk to our leader, Kyle Larson. Hey, Kyle Larson, Phil Parsons up in the Fox booth. You got a copy? That thing has looked awfully fast today. Did you realize that the 88 car that was leading on that restart did not have second and third gear? He was restarting in 4th gear because it looked like you really tried not to beat him to the start-finish line.
Yeah, I just don't know if the rules are the same as in NASCAR where you can beat the leader to the line as long as you take off at the same time. But yeah, I knew he had some sort of issue, but yeah, then it kind of fanned out into one there on the restart. Collected a few guys, but yeah, we've had a really fast cartwheel Chevy today. Really, really good car. Just gotta hold on to it here for the end.
How about the pass-through penalty for going above the blend line? Is that one of the rules that you weren't sure of?
That's also another rule I wasn't aware of. In practice, in the ARCA series, we had to run below the line to the backstretch. But then in the Cup car, we could just run our left sides above the yellow line, and I wasn't really sure how it worked out during the race. So I guess I should have paid more attention during the drivers' meeting, but luckily we had a big enough lead where we didn't have to worry about it.
Do you feel like you've learned a lot, Kyle, for tomorrow's race?
Well, I think I've learned a little bit. It's hard to say that these cars handle way different than the Cup cars, and we don't have to downshift in these at all. In the Cup car, we downshift just about every corner. So it's hard to learn a whole lot, but you can learn a little bit of technique and apexes and stuff like that. But it's been fun, though.
You've given that car a great ride. Finish it off, buddy.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks.
Well, in about 10 more laps, he might learn where Victory Lane is at Pocono, too.
He's got an awfully strong car. Mason Mitchell has rebounded from that unscheduled pit stop. Right now, he will restart in the 2nd spot. We have certainly Justin Allison, more than likely still only 4th gear. He will restart in the 4th spot. He has Cody Coughlin, that Jegs, number 55, right behind him.
Yeah, and Nick Igdalski has worked his way up to 7th, so he's looking for a career best day here, too. Jim, what do you have for us in the 90?
Back in 12th will be the point leader, Grant Enfinger. They came down pit road. He's had a very tight car all race long. He has short track veteran Mike Garvey on the pit box helping call strategy. Grant knows every inch of this car as well. They have not been able to get the tight condition out of that motor Honey Ford. What they did, they pitted twice. Once for a rear adjustment with outside the window. Then they brought him back in, popped the hood, and put a shim in the right front suspension to get this car to handle somewhat better than it has all day. So the point leader making the gamble from 6th. He'll restart this race 12th with his point nemesis sitting there up closer to the top there in the 98 machine.
All right, here we go. Ready to go for the green once again here at Pocono. Can Larson get the lead and hold them off for green and racing at Pocono?
They fan out once again. How about John West Townley all the way down to the inside?
Larson takes them high. Boy, the 98 of Mitchell trying to hang right there with him.
Mason Mitchell knows this may be his opportunity to stay with Kyle Larson. He's on the outside.
Tunnel turn could make the difference here. Larson has to drop back to 2nd, and Mitchell is going to lead him to the tunnel turn.
Great job on Mason Mitchell here to beat that 4th Kyle Larson off of turn 1.
This is the hardest Larson's had to work all day. Look at the gap there.
Frank Kimmel went way wide, losing several positions. John West Townley now up to the 3rd spot.
Will Kimmel gains a couple of spots, but I am just surprised at how Larson has dropped back about a 2nd or so.
Josh Williams got a free pass here. Now he's up battling towards the top 5 side by side with Nick Igdalski.
And look, now is not the time to play if you're Larson. if you can get around him and go, you go.
Absolutely here. You never know if you're going to catch another caution, how many more green flag laps you're going to have. Remember, Mason Mitchell has never been to victory lane in the ARCA Racing Series, and what a way to do it here, potentially.
And to upset Larson if he can pull it off. Here's Coughlin getting around to the inside on Frank Kimmel. And the veteran right there, door to door with it.
Frank drives it hard down on the tunnel turn. He was really slow off the tunnel turn last lap.
That was all veteran experience, taking it deep on the outside, going into a corner as tricky as a tunnel turn here. And Enfinger trying to get to the inside as well on the 55. He's just going to follow Frank right through there. Cody Coughlin does a smart thing, drops down with them. Closing stages here at Pocono. Everybody fighting for positions and those oh so valuable points.
And how about that clean air for Mason Mitchell right now? He has opened up to 0.8 of a second lead over Larson.
Problems. Smoke coming off of, looks like Igdalski's car there as Allison gets around him.
Yeah, Nick was up in the top 5 here. Now he's fading back here. Just about outside of the top 10.
Yeah, Allison into the top 10 here now, and he's going to try to make a move on Coughlin here.
He's trying to battle back from that transmission issue. He lost several positions on the restart. He's able to get by Cody Coughlin to take over this 8th spot.
Great move there. Just in front of him, Frank Kimmel and Enfinger. Multi-time champion and the point leader battling here at Pocono.
Nice recovery by Grant Enfinger right now, running up in the 7th spot. He's been outside of the top 10 for a number of laps in this race. Kyle Larson was the fastest car on the racetrack that time, but only about a 0.5 tenth faster than Mason Mitchell. Mason is making that clean air work for him.
Here's Allison to the inside of Enfinger. Got him as they go into one, almost a slide job as they go through that tricky turn 1.
Grant was going to try to do the crossover and get back underneath him, but looks like Allison's going to be able to hold on to it now, going after Frank Kimmel.
Gets a little tougher here, but he's not intimidated at all. To the inside. He's going to pick off another one, and you know Grandpa Donnie's got to love what he sees there.
Just on all the way up to the 6th spot and moving away from Frank Kimmel.
He had lost 8 spots on the restart, and now Allison from 4th to 12th, and now back up to 6th.
I think now's the time that, oh, there is that.
That's Igdalski.
Oh, what a tough break for Nick. Career best finish going here once again.
He was up to 7th, and now he's headed to the garage.
Kyle Larson gained a little bit more ground. He gained about a 1/10 and a half that lap. You see the gap right there, Ralph.
What an upset this is going to be for Mitchell if he can pull this off. Larson has absolutely dominated the day, and Mitchell muscled him on that restart and is just checking out on him. And you know Larson's up on the wheel. He's giving it everything he's got.
He certainly did such a great job on that restart, staying on the outside of Kyle Larson, and he was able to beat him off for turn number 1 and beat him down to the tunnel turn. And we had I guarantee we have a pretty happy crew now, but Kyle Larson is moving in on him. He's gaining on him.
Mitchell looking for that win. Larson working the draft on him as they head down to turn number 1.
Just 4 laps to go. Kyle Larson, he's measured Mason Mitchell, trying to figure out where he may be a little bit vulnerable.
I don't see a spot, Phil. He looks like he's very confident and has a very fast race car.
Yeah, Kyle Larson was about 3.5 tenths of a second faster that last lap than Mason Mitchell. Mason has the clean air, though.
Mitchell looking for that career first win.
Pretty good run off the corner that time for Kyle Larson. Let's see what he can do over here in turn 3. If he can get a good run off the corner, that long 3,700-foot straightaway.
Will we have our 17th different winner here at Pocono in 17 races as Allison gains another one?
Here he comes. He's moved to within a car length of the 98.
Allison is now up to 5th as we go back to the fight for the lead. Larson right there filling up that rearview mirror. 3 to go here at the tricky triangle. Catching him is one thing. Getting around him is another.
Mason did a great job not overdriving turn number 1 here, but Kyle's all over his back bumper.
And traffic in front of him, Phil. As they make their way down to the tunnel turn, they're going to have tipped just in front of them. Tift is running in 19th, not a factor here, but he could come into play. Here's Larson to the inside.
Mason went a little bit wide on exit there, lost a little bit of momentum, and Kyle Larson took advantage of it.
New leader here at Pocono, and Larson back to the front.
Boy, you really have to give it to Mason Mitchell, but what a great fight there. Wrestle that lead away from Kyle Larson.
Absolutely a great effort by Mitchell, and look, it's not done yet. 2 to go here at Pocono. Larson is back out front, but Mitchell has proven he's got the chops and the race car to battle with him.
Certainly does, but Kyle Larson has been so strong this entire race. He has led 63 of the 78 laps so far.
There's Tift looming in front of him. Look how fast they catch him. They both get around him.
Cost Kyle Larson a little bit of momentum there, but Mason Mitchell can only get to about 3 car lengths behind.
He's there now, and they got another car coming. Mitchell has been a runner-up 3 times in ARCA. Doesn't want to do it a 4th.
Coming down for the white flag here. Just one more lap. He's trying to break the draft on him.
Larson way to the bottom. White flag waving. Mitchell has the draft now as they head to 1. The gap was less than a second, just 5/10. One more trip down to the tunnel turn.
Looks like he's going to be clear of traffic. I think he has a clean racetrack in front of him.
Kyle Larson and his team came here to Pocono to learn. Not just to win, but to learn. He's learned a lot here today. He's had things go wrong.
He's taught a little bit to some other competitors today.
A lot. Yes, he has. And he's shown why everybody thinks he's got so much potential. Kyle Larson off the final corner. His first ARCA win in his 3rd start. The 34th different driver to win at Pocono, and it's Kyle Larson, becoming the 17th different driver to win in the last 17 races here with ARCA at Pocono.
How about John West Townley all the way from the back of the pack from Texas last night and finishes 3rd.
Larson becoming the 5th different winner in 2014. And Mitchell has nothing to be ashamed of. He made him work for it after that final restart. Well, as we said, the other thing Kyle Larson's going to learn about Pocono is where's victory lane. He's headed there, and so are we after this. No problem there. Kyle Larson's pulled in. Let's show you the results from the Pocono ARCA 200.
Outstanding run by Mason Mitchell. Yet another runner-up finish. You mentioned 3 runner-up finishes for him. Make that 4. John West Townley all the way from the back of the pack up into the top 5 in 3rd spot. And how about Justin Allison with a 5th place finish here?
Really impressed by his run here today. As you take a look at the rest of the rundown, and we'll be right back to hear from Kyle after these words. Stay with us here. More coming your way from Pocono. So is Wendy Venturini. We're ready to talk to our winner.
And Kyle Larson was the dominating car all day here at Pocono Raceway, but the final 10 laps, Mason Mitchell gave him a run for the money. And young Kyle Larson getting sprayed with beer from his team. Kyle, you had to work for it, those final 10 laps. How hard was that?
Yeah, that was surprising. We had the dominant car by far the whole race. Then, yeah, the 98 surprised me. He was really fast and pulled away from me a little bit there. And then he got excited a couple times in 2 and killed his run, and I was able to get a run on him, get to his inside. But that would have sucked to lose that race. But it was fun racing him there at the end. It was a blast. I definitely learned some things in traffic there that should help me out for tomorrow. So good day. Cartwheel Chevy was fast. Got to thank Target and Chickanassie Racing for putting this whole deal together for me to run with Turner Scott Motorsports and my nationwide team. So good day, and go on to Sunday's race and try and get a good finish tomorrow.
All right, congratulations to Kyle Larson with his first win here at Pocono, along with crew chief Scott Zipadelli. Jim Trado.
With a driver who gave him all he could handle at the very end of the race, Mason Mitchell, strong run for you. He said you were surprised. When did that speed come to you, and did you know you had enough there to get him on the restart and pull away?
Yeah, I know we had it, built in our car. We just had to adjust to it. At the beginning of the day, we were just a little off there, and then unfortunately we had an issue. We had to come down pit road. Just something was slipping in the rear end, and I don't know. I guess the tires fixed it, but and we're lucky we got the caution there. And we had kind of a bold move going into one in that restart, but I had to do it, to get back up there to the front, and we passed him on the restart there. I was trying to do everything I can to hold him off, and we did pretty good to go up against a cup team there. So, I can't thank my guys enough for putting in the hours they did. They did all-nighters just coming up to get here, and we had a lot of adversity facing this, but we had a really good day. Really wanted to win bad. We've been so close this year, and I tried really hard there, but we'll finish second, I guess, and then we'll go on to Michigan.
His second place finish for the second time this year for Mason Mitchell. Now 20 points out of the point lead, Ralph.
Yeah, look, I know he's devastated because he finished second for the fourth time, but he's right. They went up against a fully loaded program. He led him, almost took the win away from him, and more importantly, he's only 20 out of the points lead going to Michigan. We'll be back.
Nothing to be ashamed of.
All the activities in Victory Lane continuing here at Pocono as we conclude the Pocono ARCA 200. Justin Allison had an up and down day. He ends up with a top 5, did a great job driving that car today, and he's standing by with Wendy Venturini.
Justin Allison coming home 5th. Justin, I know it was a little bit crazy out there for you with your car stuck in 4th gear. How was that to manage in this race?
It wasn't fun, that's for sure. But our Havico Sales Ford was really good all day. We ran in the top 3 most of the day, and then on that green flag pit stop, I come in and I went to downshift to 3rd, and I couldn't, it was just stuck, and I didn't know what to do. So we made the pit stop, and I was asking my crew chief, Teddy, I was like, how am I going to leave? We finally got it rolling, and once I got going, I was good. And then we had that caution, which hurt us, and I restarted first, and I was like, what are we going to do now? So, we just made the best with it and came home with the top 5, which I'm happy with.
Definitely a learning experience for Justin Allison. Jim?
3rd top 5 of the season for full-timer here in ARCA, John West Townley, who raced just last night in Texas. But this race had a whole lot of elements. You were a lot of the storyline. Damage early, coming back through. How'd you end up 3rd?
Well, we got this little bit of hood damage, I guess, early on in the race, actually at the very start. I think it was the 43, just really brake checked just really hard, and there's nothing I could do getting on the corner. But, we pulled it off today, fortunately. So, it's really good for Zaxby's and Toyota, to have a top 3 finish. It's pretty solid. Just hope that, we can go and contend for the win at Michigan.
New crew chief Brad Parrott certainly working with this guy and doing very well here. Another top 5 here in ARCA this season, guys.
Yeah, 3 top 5s in the last 4 races for John West Townley, and 2 top 5s in 2 days in 2 different parts of the country.
Yeah. Yep. Well, Larson will start thinking about tomorrow and running the Cup car, the NASCAR Sprint Cup race here at Pocono. Everybody else will start thinking about Michigan next week. We'll have that race for you live right here on Fox Sports. It was a great day here at Pocono. Beautiful weather, great racing. The challenge handed to the drivers by the Tricky Triangle, dominated by Kyle Larson.
How about the young guys, though? Did they perform today or what?
They sure did. And don't forget about the old guys. Frank Kimball was in the top 10 as well. For Wendy Venturini, Phil Parsons, Jim Trader, I'm Ralph Sheen. Major League Baseball pregame show on Fox Sports next with Ryan Field.